Volume 1, page 173.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Although your report states collusion is not so specific offense, and you said that this morning, or a term of art in federal criminal law, conspiracy is. In the colloquial context, are collusion and conspiracy essentially synonymous terms?
You're going to have to repeat that for me.
Collusion is not a specific offense or a term of art in the federal criminal law.
That was a live look from Capitol Hill. Special Counsel Robert Mueller now testifying before the House Judiciary Committee. We're going to be hearing a lot more from that tomorrow when both of his testimonies have concluded.
Looks like they're having a lot of fun over there. It's been nearly 4 months since the highly anticipated report on the investigation into Russian interference and obstruction of justice was made public today. Former special counsel Robert Mueller is testifying before Congress. And ahead of his testimony, the Department of Justice sent a letter to Mueller outlining what he can and cannot say.
It reads in part, any testimony must remain within the boundaries of our public report because matters within the scope of your investigation were covered by executive privilege. Joining us to discuss what that means, as well as what we can expect from the special counsel, former federal prosecutor Gene Rossi. Gene, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Sir.
Gene, lay out for us what is the implications of this letter? Because as I understand it, Mueller is a Department of Justice employee, or he was in his capacity here. Therefore, the Attorney General could give him a scope of guidance as he would any employee when appearing before Congress. So was there much ado about nothing in terms of this letter, or does it have major implications?
Well, I think it is close to much ado about nothing because Mueller asked for guidance.
Yeah.
He got guidance. It would have been nice if the Attorney General wrote the letter, but that's another issue. The one complaint I have about the letter is it tells Robert Mueller what he can't do. It doesn't tell him what he can do. And here's what he can do. He can talk about anything that's in the public domain, period. He can explain things in the public domain. I did that as a prosecutor all the time, talking about grand jury information that was already in the public domain. He could explain the nuances of what's in the public domain. But more important is that if there is a crime fraud exception, McGahn's conversations with Donald Trump, where Donald Trump was asking him to do crazy SHIT, that's arguably crime fraud exception. A crime fraud exception eviscerates any privilege on the planet. Priest, penitent, attorney-client, executive, deliberative, work product. He didn't mention that if you think it's a crime fraud exception, you can talk.
Yeah, of course, I'm sure Mueller knows all that. He's well versed in all of this.
He does know that. He's a pretty sharp guy. He's a pretty sharp guy.
What took so long to get to this moment? It's been almost 4 months since the report came out. Why the delay in getting this testimony?
I got to blame the Democrats a little bit, and I'm a hardcore Democrat, okay?
I blame the Democrats a lot, so
absolutely.
Go ahead.
But I'm not, blind loyalty is not something I subscribe to.
Yeah.
I think they were timid, they were hesitant, they were confused, and those are its good qualities.
Yeah.
Robert Mueller, the one criticism I have against him is he was a little too reticent to cooperate. Okay, Ken Starr in November, I think it was November of 1998, he was salivating to talk to the House Judiciary Committee about what? Infidelity by the president with a young woman. He was salivating. The converse is Robert Mueller. Robert Mueller could expand on a lot of what's in the report. He has the authority to do that. He has the permission to do that. On May 30th of this year, Attorney General Barr on CBS News gave Robert Mueller a green light to say, hey, would you charge the president based on those 10 overt acts? I hope Robert Mueller runs with that ball and is not hesitant and gives his opinion. Yes,
Gene,
sir.
as a former federal prosecutor,
Yes.
though, isn't that inappropriate? So if you have to have a determination based on the facts, it's not your job to exculpate somebody. That's something that the president's team has made a lot. But it's also it's a defamation of character, which is if you're not, the government is not going to bring charges against somebody. You can't defame them by talking about negative facts that you've uncovered in the course of your investigation. How do you look at this?
I humbly disagree. Under Federal Criminal Procedure 6E, a prosecutor in the performance of their duties can disclose grand jury information. I did that all the time.
Yeah.
I can't think of a more perfect opportunity for Robert Mueller to perform his duties as a federal prosecutor. And there's plenty of, history shows John Danforth, senator from Missouri, he was talking about investigations in the 90s. During the investigation, he was before Congress talking about it. Ken Starr, just mentioned Ken Starr. Bill Barr, in a sense, in his press conference, in his March 24th letter, I'm being charitable.
Yeah.
It was very misleading. He was talking about the contents of the report. He didn't have to do that. He made a conclusion about obstruction that at least 1,000 federal prosecutors, Republican and Democrats, think is crazy, including me.
I think there's also a weirdness here. Like, this is a sort of quasi-legal situation, right?
Yes.
Because ultimately, because of that DOJ guidance, this president was not going to be charged with a crime. Essentially, it is up to the Congress, it's up to the American people to decide what they make of these charges, whether they think that they meet the bar of high crimes and misdemeanor, and that we should move forward with that. So I think it's important to keep that in mind also, that we use all this legalistic terminology, all of these legalistic sort of benchmarks, but it's actually not a straightforward legalistic situation.
I disagree with you, with the utmost respect. If you have 5 years of trial experience with the Department of Justice and you look at volume 2 of that report, and you go to the Southern District of New York, where...
Breaking our table over there?
What happened there?
It's okay.
I'm Italian. I use my hands a lot, which is a dangerous thing. But if you look at the facts of the Michael Cohen guilty plea, okay, New York in volume 2, any federal prosecutor with at least 5 years of trial experience, Bill Barr's never tried a case. Rod Rosenstein hardly ever tried a case. With trial experience, if it were Donald Smith instead of Donald Trump would have been indicted a year ago for the campaign violations and at least 2 or 3 or 4.
Then why didn't the Southern District indict him, Gene?
Because of the memo. Because of the memo. That's number one. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
The memo prevents the Southern District from charging the campaign violations. And number two, who's now the Attorney General, Bill Barr, he did not recuse himself from the Michael Cohen matter. So those two forces combined squelched any charges against the president. But here's the good news. It's debatable whether the president's going to be reelected or defeated. If he is defeated, the statute of limitations for many of these crimes, including the campaign finance report, campaign violation report, August of 2022. He'll leave office January 21st of 2021. So if he is defeated, that's up in the air now, he may get reelected. And if the Democrats shoot themselves in the foot, he will get reelected. But he could be indicted based on what I know.
Is prosecuting a former president really where this country wants to go? This was the same argument about Hillary Clinton. Do we all think that she acted very squeaky clean in the email investigation? No. But prosecuting your political opponents is a bad look.
Absolutely. You brought up a
It's a political decision.
You brought up a great
all
point.
This is politics.
Yeah.
I know personally several people who worked for Ken Starr. They're friends of mine. And I can tell you, at least I can think of one, I won't mention his name. When Bill Clinton left office, he was very upset because the OLC memo prevented Ken Starr from indicting. But once Bill Clinton left office, he was subject to the obstruction, the perjury, and all that stuff. I know at least one person who was very upset that the President of the United States wasn't indicted. Okay, I can tell you this, as a former federal prosecutor for almost 30 years, to charge a public official, the most powerful person on the planet, the President of the United States, you need, number one, strong evidence, and you need, essentially, it's a different thing, you need public...
We got some.
We have some other breaking news.
Birthday, yeah.
Oh my God!
Happy birthday, Gene. Yeah. Thank you to our intern for bringing that over here.
Perfect birthday present is a cake
it says Happy
and
Muller
Muller's
Day.
testimony. Perfect
Oh
for
my
you,
God! I got to
Gene.
take a photo of
Yeah,
that.
you got to take a photo.
And we got to do a team photo.
We will.
I don't know if people at home can see. It says what does it say?
Happy birthday.
It's Muller
Muller.
time.
Muller Day.
There you go.
Oh my God! And I got the And Tim Alberta signed that book.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
There you go.
Happy birthday.
As I say, today's the best day of my life. Today's the best day of my life, and tomorrow's even better. I distract. I digressed a little bit.
Yeah.
But going back, when you are charging the president or a high public official as a federal prosecutor, number one, you have to have strong evidence.
Yeah.
You can't have weak evidence. And I know what weak evidence is. Do we have a slam dunk against the president of the United States? Absolutely not. But if you get over that hurdle, you then have to say, does the public, is justice served by indicting Bill Clinton, by indicting Richard Nixon? That's a tough issue. And that's something that involves a lot of discussion, but that's down the road.
Yeah.
The OLC memo, I disagree with it vehemently.
Yeah.
But the OLC memo is the rule of law for the Justice Department. It's a crazy rule of law, but the president, for now, is in safe harbor based on that memo.
Well, thank you so much, Gene.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Enjoy.
High five.
Appreciate it.
Here,
Thank you so much.
see if you can hold up the cake so people can see it.
Well,
Can you, let's see
we
if
don't
we
wanna
can
drop it.
I know.
I'm going to hold
Do
up the
it.
cake.
All right.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I
God,
think
this
we can
thing
make
is
this happen.
heavy. Oh baby.
Oh, man.
Looks good, right?
Oh
We can share
baby.
that with us,
Okay, where should I
right?
look? Where should I
Here,
look?
there we go.
that
Hold up here.
Look at
There we
that.
go. Happy birthday.
Okay, hey
It's long
folks.
time.
Hey.
Hey folks.
Thanks, Gene.
I'm 39, just like Jack Bennett.
It's a great year. Thanks, Gene.
Next on Rising.
Thank you.
While Washington is tuned into the Mueller hearing, Democratic presidential candidates are turning their focus to the second round of debates.
YouTube creator Kyle Kulinski shares what he hopes to see from the contenders. That one Rising continues.